The next speaker is Professor Milind Sohoni. Milind Sohoni is Professor of Computer Science at IIT Bombay. But you're going to see him more as a person from CTARA. CTARA you already saw in the morning in Professor Agnihotri's talk, and Professor Naren Shah also talked about it. First time I came across Professor Milind Sohoni's work was through the check dam project that he undertook in a village in Maharashtra. In fact, I recall going there for the inaugural of that. And now that check dam is there, they have water throughout the year. So this is something, and he spent a lot of time to get the thing done. Possibly also stayed in the village months together, and things like that. He is going to talk about. In fact, the way I started this whole thing was, I first talked to Professor Milind Sohoni and said, I want to have some talks on CTARA. That's how the whole thing started. Then he organized all other talks. He's going to talk about. He has done a lot of work with the local governments, municipalities and so on, and does a lot of projects. And he's also going to talk about how different people with different backgrounds can actually contribute to this in an effective manner. So I made a request, because you are from varying backgrounds. There are quite a few non-engineers here. There are people from science background, commerce, arts, English, and library sciences, and so on, various fields. So he believes that all these are useful, and it is possible to contribute to the society, the local government. So I'm going to let Professor Milind Sohoni to explain. Let's welcome Professor Milind Sohoni.
Yeah, so my name is Milind Sohoni, and I am a professor in computer science as well as in CTARA. So I used to work in optimization, applied mathematics, and now I also work on water sector and also on higher education and how to make higher education more responsive to our regional developmental needs. So I think a lot of your sessions have been about what happens inside the university, how to make a proposal, how to teach, how to use Moodle and so on. So what I'm going to talk about is really outside the university, the world outside the university. So though this talk says the word engineering, it is really about a profession, a professional sociologist, professional historian, professional engineer, any profession. So really a profession is obviously embedded in society, because profession delivers some value and expects something, some livelihood or meaningful returns, maybe financial, maybe prestige or whatever. So professional actor, professional engineer, professional sociologist, professional. So in other words, there is some give and take between a professional and society. So I'll also talk about a new, not so new, 3-4-year-old idea which we have started with the government of Maharashtra. So perhaps in your own state you may pursue that idea, and in your own university, maybe you can college, you can pursue it. So I'm going to first talk about what is engineering, then in engineering in India, what are its problems. But by the way, so you will see my definition of engineering is very different. It is not about power plants or whatever. It's a very simple definition which is accessible. So you can say what is sociology in a similar tone, or applied sociology. For example, I could talk about ration shops, right, or nutrition, similar things. So then I'll talk about what are the problems, show you some data, and try and understand what things are going wrong and how to set them right. Then I will also talk about the government's viewpoint. The state is a big actor, like what is its viewpoint on the role of the university. And then I will talk about Unnat Abhiyan, which is a program of government of Maharashtra, and then really about what we expect a new type of university that we should have. So if stop me if there are any major questions, or if you think that you want to make a comment, important comment, just stop. So if you go to ask students, why are you in college? So they're going to say, because my parents sent me here, right? I have always wanted to be an engineer. I like physics, maths in school. I want a good job, and I want to do something for society, and so on. So really, these are all the answers that you will get. So there are but two questions which if you dig deeper, they will say, what is the difference between science and engineering? And the second thing is that, what are the prospects for engineering in India? Right? Everyone, so everyone is talking about packages and so on. So everyone wants to know, what are the prospects for engineering, and what is the difference between science and engineering? So here is my definition of engineering. So how is it, whenever we are in science, social or non-social, science is about measurement, right? So you should be able to measure, whatever we say. So how do we measure engineering? Well, number of scientific instruments in schools, like number of microscopes, telescopes, and so on. Number of buses per 1,000 people, right? You would like to have more buses, public transport should be better. Then number of liters of water available per person, number of factories, jobs, length of road per 1,000 people, units of electricity per person per year. These are all engineering metrics. Is that clear? So these are how we can measure engineering in our society, right? So we can of course measure them by number of graduate engineers per year, but more, what people are more interested are exactly these outcomes, that we would like more buses to be there, more public, more trains. For example, if you know that, they would like to commute from here to South Bombay, and it is an ordeal, right? So we would like to have more trains, more express trains, or faster, or so whatever. And so really, the definition of engineering is the material well-being of society, right? Anything which is material, is to, and which is of our desire. We want more buses. So material well-being is engineering, and that it should be sustainable, be equitable, and it should be efficient, right? So is the definition of engineering clear? So we would like, for example, now we know that climate change is there. There's a lot of pollution, smog, fog. I mean, even in Bombay, the situation is bad. So we would like all of these things, more buses, but at the same time, we would like, some sort of other attributes of that material well-being, right? So am I clear? Am I clear about what I've said? Am I clear to everyone? Yes? Okay, good. So there is that clicker, right? MCQ, at the end. So I want to remind you, right? There is always that MCQ. Yeah. So let us see how we measure it. It will be there tomorrow. Okay, good. So let us see how to measure it. So what I have done here is I have classified the outcome, the economy, in terms of three broad sectors: agriculture, industry, and services, right? And then I have put here, this is in 2012, what is our per capita GDP, which is 4,000 US dollars, right? Okay, so now in the first row is the percentage of the total GDP, coming from agriculture, which is 17, then there is 25, and there is 56, correct? So 56% of our GDP is actually coming from services. And if you look at the employment, it is 51, 22, and 26, correct? So a simple way is to divide the numerator by the denominator, right? So you'll see 25 upon 22 is roughly 1, 56 upon 20 is roughly 2, and 17 is roughly 1/3. So it means that if an engineer makes 1 rupee, 2 rupees goes to the service sector, and 1/3, the salary of a farmer is 1/3 of that for an engineer, and the service sector is twice. Is that clear? So it is clear that the service sector in India is paying more than engineering, which is paying 3 times as much as agriculture, right? So is this clear? Right. Now let us look at other countries. You will see that China is 9K, but it has a large engineering sector, right? Large engineering, and comparatively smaller agriculture, right? So in terms of GDP, and if you see, as countries develop, the number of people employed in agriculture, or the GDP fraction, reduces, right? The industry also starts slowly going down, and then and only then does the service sector actually increase, right? Right. So as you go down here, right, then you see that as countries become richer, agriculture gives way to engineering, engineering gives way to service. So what is the service sector? Well, poetry, games, soccer, football, so music, all this is service sector, and also pizza delivery, right? That is also service sector, right? So what we see here is a very peculiar thing, that we have become a service sector economy without becoming rich, right? So what is our service sector? You've traveled in trains, people are selling combs, that is our service sector. And of course IT, right? And then pizza delivery, courier, all of these are service sector, and they are still paying more than engineering. So that is our really plight. It is a problem that without even achieving material well-being, we have become a pizza delivery nation, right? In IT is also in some ways a delivery. We are delivering to US companies, banks and hospitals, we are delivering things, right? So that is the plight. So if you look at our top employers, it is not chemical engineering, it is not petroleum, it is in fact food, papad and loncha, achar, and next is textiles, petticoats, correct? And next is metal, मतलब वो fabricator होता है ना, पतरा वाला, वो सब. These are the things that is going on. Okay, so the top employers are also not, it shows exactly what the status is. So then we must analyze this. Why is this happening? So you will see. So let us look at IIT Bombay and let us look at placements of IIT Bombay. Placement is the top question. You read in the paper, somebody got 1.5 crore and so on. So let us see, let us look at IIT and what are the placements of IIT. So in 2013, so roughly 1000 people I think got placed that year, right? And now what I have done is I have classified them in some way. So what do I have done? So engineering, finance, consulting, IT. So these three are all service sector, correct? And engineering is what IIT is supposed to do, Indian Institute of Technology, right? Now I have said, I have classified the companies into 4 or 5 lots. So what is II? Indian company for Indian consumers, right? So what's an example? L&T, right? Then what is GI? Global company for Indian consumers. What's an example of that? IBM is, well, global company for global consumer. It's more like Samsung washing machines, Samsung India, correct? Samsung India is like a global company working for Indian people, right? What is IG? So what would that be? Infosys, exactly. Infosys is a good example, right? And then global for global, IBM, General Electric and so on, Apple, right? And a super GG is not only a global company for working for global people, but the employee, our student, graduate, is placed abroad, exported. Is that clear? Okay. So let me just classify all the jobs in that way. So what do you see here? So by the way, this 25 is the number of people who got placed, right? And this 27.7 is the average salary in rupees lakhs per annum. Okay. So now what do we see here? Well, the topmost is of course Super GG IT, right? So all these Super GG, of course, that's not fair, because in USA if you are placed, obviously you will get in like lot. So that's not fair. But let's look at this. So 10, 12, 11, right? And which is the lowest? It is this number. So engineering companies, Indian engineering companies working for Indian people pays the least, right? So all those big numbers which we saw about actually happen here as well, correct? So our real focus of IITs should have been number one this, and even more this, working for Indian people, maybe global companies, maybe Samsung washing machines, but it should at least. And the trouble is that only 90 or 80 students work for Indian, for Indian people, right? So there is a real problem. Is that clear? So it is not that, the best, do we have the best teachers? We do have, we do have the best laboratory. So there is something which is missing, correct? So it is, why is it that Deutsche Bank, say for example, which would be in finance, is able to pay our graduates 10 lakh rupees per year, but an engineering company cannot pay 10 lakh, right, for such clever people? So that is the question that we should ask, right? So why are the IITs not doing, IIT grads not doing engineering? You say, oh, it's a market. Deutsche Bank is paying 10, obviously students will go to Deutsche Bank, correct? But the question is, why are Indian Railways not paying 10 lakhs? Do our engineers do they not deliver that much value? Correct? So here's the first question. When I say engineer as a profession must deliver value, correct. So unfortunately Indian engineers or our training is perhaps not adequate for them to deliver value at 10 lakh rupees per year. Is that clear? So let's see. So by the way, this problem is universal. If you go to AICT web page, they will say, well, placement is a dread, you know, hardly 30% gets paid, hardly 15% are quote unquote employable, right? That is the story. You'll go to your college, you will find that many of your graduates are perhaps not employable, right? So there has to be something needs to be done. So by the way, the impact on this is really terrible. You know, just because we are not able to place our students correctly. You see, here is our steel consumption. Per capita steel consumption is 57 kilos, this is 2012. Let's compare it with other countries, even Egypt, fine. So at 57 kilos per person, you know, building a house, for example, you know, RCC needs so many hundreds of kilos of steel. It probably needs 1,000 kilos. So no wonder we are still staying in kacha houses, right? No wonder we have few buses and bridges, right? The per capita consumption of steel is actually a problem. So by the way, is steel rocket science? No. So what is the problem? Why are we not producing enough steel? What is the answer? No demand. But do we not want more buses? Huh? Higher. But then what about other countries? It's the same as other countries. So the trouble is that we have not been able to pay for itself. Now, after all, a bus, public transport has to pay for itself, right? So a public transport system will buy buses if it pays for itself. So we have not been able to incorporate engineering into value generating loops, right? Our railways are not paying for themselves, our bus systems are not paying for them. People don't appreciate, or people are not able to, or our systems are not designed so that they pay for themselves, correct? Okay, so that is the trouble. And if you actually look at, for example, another engineering service is drinking water. By the way, Sadak, Bijli, Pani, what are they? They are engineering services. Because I am an engineer, I say that. A sociologist, they are social services, of course, right? So they are services for people, you know, normal people. So you see in drinking water, what is happening? So all 2008, 2012, by the way, this is per 1,000. So this means that 86%, this means that 85%. So this is year-round availability of drinking water. So you see here that it was 86%, it went down to a little bit. And in urban water, drinking water, it went down. And in Maharashtra, it is really bad, 74%. So that means that a full 26% of our people, rural people, do not have year-round drinking water. And that's the reason that they are migrating, they are coming to cities, right? They are, forget about jobs, they are looking for water, drinking water, okay? So that is the trouble. So by the way, you know, same about milk, you know, electricity, you know, whatever you name it, you know, the same story. So this is of course a very familiar picture. These are our, you know, our fluids don't use Navier-Stokes equation, but they use women's equations. This is how our girls are actually conveying water. And if you look at these are our ladies cooking cooking food. And this is our good making factory. This was 5 years ago. Professor Narendra Shah may have shown you this picture. Correct? So this was in Daud. You know, 5 or 10 years ago, this was how, and it is still how good is being made. Correct? So this is maybe a 100-year-old story. So by the way, so I mean, just to show you, so this is another story. How far is drinking water? How far is your source of drinking water? So this is only census. This is this red patch, right? And the yellow patch is how many cook use chula to cook. So all the yellow, orange, red is more than 50%. So more than 50% all this part are using chulas to cook. Maharashtra. Other states may be good or bad, but Maharashtra is supposed to be a developed state. By the way, this is from census. So if you go to my web page, you can download census data. Okay, so it is available for all to see. So the conclusion really is that we are very slow in meeting development needs. We have poorly functioning, poor and increasing need in. So there is a demand. We want it, but we are not able to meet it, right? So real question is, how can engineers develop better value, right? This is the question. That we know that there is a demand. We know that our engineers are not getting jobs. So how do we get them to meet each other. Right? That is how jobs will be generated, salaries will be paid and so on. So we need to ask, why is this misallocation happening? Which are the sectors jobs going to be? Where are these jobs? And so basically, how do I prepare for it? So sir, what should I do? Is Internet of Things, IoT hot, or is networks hot, or whatever, right? Some nanotechnology hot, right? So these are the questions that students are going to ask you. So how do you, what is a hot, what is hot, and how do you make students red hot? So that is the story. So by the way, so there are, let us, we have posed some questions. Let us understand what are the answers. Right? So there has to be some concrete answers. So the first understanding is, let us look at, compare the syllabus, curriculum. Okay, so you have seen all these credit systems, वगैरह तो आपको मालूम है, you must have learned it. So now this is the AI, these are the number of credits as AICT has, given. 176, NUS National 160, IIT Delhi 150, 177, and if you look at University of Illinois, 128 plus 20 minor, which is outside. Correct? So they say that they are willing to call someone an engineer if only, even if he or she has only 128 credits, right? But and if you look at where is the difference, they do a lot more. There is a much broader education that they get. So that is the first thing, that in fact what are we doing? We are teaching something. In fact we are more loyal than the king. So University of Illinois is a very good university, and if they think that 128 credits is adequate, we much more. Sort of, that every semester of our is packed. Thermodynamics 1, thermodynamics 2, thermodynamics 3, फिर उसका lab, फिर right? It goes on and on, right? So they, well, on the other hand, University of Illinois takes their students outside, gets them to do outside their department, outside themselves. Okay, so really, so this is the first secret, that maybe there's something wrong with our curriculum. Maybe that we are not teaching them what is really required. The next thing is, let us look at our research, right? So we've seen about rankings and H index and I index. I think even in this, teaching, you must have heard about this research, writing proposals. So let us look at what sort of papers are Indians publishing, correct? So here are the topics. So by the way, has everyone heard of TechWhip? Yes, so a lot of you are from TechWhip colleges. A few are from TechWhip colleges. So TechWhip was a program of Government of India to, quality improvement program, right? So let us see how has quality improved. So we see that number of papers in neural networks, 692, 1800, then 2400. Fuzzy logic, 110, 327, 759. So we are now, world leaders in fuzzy logic without our knowing it. Correct? So on the other hand, you see that water supply, 84, 74, 87, right? Then sanitation, groundwater, public transport, you name it. You see that there is something which has something major, something wrong which has happened. Right? So our, somehow our incentives are such that we are publishing papers, we become powerhouses in fuzzy logic, but not in water supply. Correct? So that is another indication that something needs to be done. So by the way, this is the standard Scopus. In fact, you can go to Scopus, you look back at, 4 or 5 years ago, what was hot. For example, what was hot was, I think, sensor networks. Okay, you see how many papers we have written compared to, say, Germany. Right? You'll understand why, why Germany has progressed much more than we have. Right? Okay. So this is one analysis. Any questions about this? Any comments? Or we can talk about it at the end. So here is, so let's come back to some other here. So let's see, how does a government see it? This is how we have been looking at it. So the government is, if you listen to the Gujarat here, everyone saying Vikaswad, right? Everyone saying नौकरियां किधर है, job reservation, यही चल रहा है ना? So essentially the first question that every government wants to know, where will the jobs come from, right? Who will fix our basic services, and who will strengthen small enterprises? These are the 3 questions that every state government will ask you. Privately they will take you, अरे बाबा इसका कोई solution है क्या? They want to know how to solve these things. because they see this, you know, if any minister who goes on the road, you are going to see this, you are going to see this, or she, correct? So these are the questions that they will ask, and they will say that yeah, water is, you know, is not reaching, but something even worse is happening. This was 2001, this is 2011, right? So if you see in those 10 years, water has actually gone farther and farther away, drinking water, right? So this is why we have now, in fact, if you go in, you know, in all towns, you know, it is now Bisleri, which is, you know, normally you would go to a small hotel and they would have a jug and a glass of, you know, and glasses, and you would drink water, no more. And the secret is this. So we are spending a lot of money in this, correct? So year round actually. So what is missing is, so we have all these droughts, chulas, public, all this. Missing is institutions, right? Where is the community? Where are the institutions? All of this is really missing, right? So here is another. So I am trying to come to a clue how to, you know, where are the jobs going to come from, right? So I think you appreciate that they are going to come from drinking water. They are going to come from public transport, from better chulas, right? They are going to be, you know, but is there more evidence? Yes. So here is another evidence. What I have done here is that each of these dots is a district of Maharashtra, okay? On the x-axis is a number between 0 and 1. It is the quality of service of drinking water, urban drinking water. तो उनके cities में अगर 7 में से एक दिन आता है तो 1/7, ठीक है, पानी. You understand? So I look at all the cities in that district, take an average, and I get a number. Correct? Is this metric clear? X-axis, and on the y-axis is number of jobs per 1000 in that district. Formal sector jobs, company jobs, good jobs. So what do you see? We see that, you know, so there all these districts are moving to the right and then moving up. So unless better, you know, drinking water happens, you know, industrial good jobs are not going to come. Is that clear? So better amenities, better public transport, you know, fewer chulhas, more gas, more, all of these things. Only when these happen will you have jobs, right? This exception is Aurangabad, by the way, you know that, and the reason is Bajaj moved there long time ago. Long time ago, Bajaj company moved there. That is the reason that this is. But otherwise, the story is clear. So let's just understand what the story is, that unless, you know, all the districts are here, well, you know, this is Thane, Kolhapur, and so on, right? So if you want more jobs, you have to take each district one by one and put them in this loop. You will take them here and then start rising, you know, taking them up. Is that clear? So you improve the amenities, and then there may be some other things like knowledge, better research, not fuzzy logic, maybe water supply system, maybe public transport, and then those districts will start moving up. So one district at a time you have to work, you know, and take them through this trajectory. Is this clear? Okay, so what my claim is that, you know, better amenities, more jobs, and for that new knowledge, new product. So we need a district drinking water manager at 60,000 rupees a month. I have the training. I know how to train people who will generate value at 60,000 rupees a month in the sector of drinking water. Public transport manager, we want those people. Like city economist, we want. Fine. So we must generate the job description of the city economist at 40,000 rupees a month, match the training. Right? That is how the, you know, those new jobs are going to get created. Is that clear? By the way, you are the future teachers of this, you know, of this whatever of the system, right? So we must understand. So there are, it is new and hard applied research, then and student faculty interest, new mechanisms, and understanding how well. So let me now look at new mechanisms. What is a mechanism? Let's just see. So by the way, coming back to the government, you know, it sees, you know, what it wants is, so it has this governance, so it has development outcomes. A government is responsible for outcomes, right? And it has jobs, right? And they are failing, and it has, we have research, right? So in this Venn diagram, these three circles are disjoint, what the government wants is to put them all together, right. So they should be together, right. So the new job, better job description come, then then the development output should improve and it should be supplied by basic research, right. So each government wants a confluence in these three things, right. So so this was the program. So now let me come to what we started with Government of Maharashtra. So it was called the Unnat Maharashtra Abhiyan. Okay, so what is it? For all its fancy name, it is really what? It is to align higher education with the demand of regional development, right. Create avenues for students, create avenues, ways for students to work with district administration, right. Through curricula and research, create new professions. So what the government say, our doors are open, come and collaborate, come and work on our problems. Is that clear? So through this what it is saying is that come with us, come study our problems, right. That is what it is saying. Right, is it easy? Is this easy? Would you, for example, perhaps you don't have children who are college going age, would you say send your boy or girl into yeah, why did you study drinking water? No. Would you send him to a Marathi medium school? No. Correct. So it is in our there is something which is still not there. Right. So studying our own problems is still not, is still like we have still not accepted it. Okay, anyway. So what the UMA thinks is that better outcomes needs new knowledge and a different university. So we must change how the university thinks and we must build partnerships with the university. Right. So let me just go step ahead a bit, right. So what it wants is this. So what our traditional university is what? It gives degrees and creates employees, and the government and companies serve people, and the chief minister and government serve, gives the money to the university. This is the picture, correct. So if you look at traditional view of university is that it is a generator of employees, while the new university is not only generation but new job descriptions, new consulting, advice on drinking water, advice on what should the collector do, and so on. Okay, so and that, by the way, this connection of the university with the state's function is required for any country to develop. If you look at Korea, if you look at Japan, China, all of this took this model. Europe was the first one to do it. In Europe, the state, and of course USA, if you look at the state funded University of Illinois, University of Michigan, Minnesota, all of these have worked with their state and developed together, right. So they have worked in this, if I work in GIS, for example, GIS, Geographical Information System, that came, University of Minnesota was the inventor of GIS, and they did it because they had a large state, lot of real estate, and they had to describe it, so they invented GIS, right. So this is what they want. So anyway, so can the university, so the first project that we did with Government of Maharashtra is that they passed a law that all water supply schemes, new water, must be assessed by a government college, and we will pay 1% of that to the college. Okay, now a typical scheme is 50 lakhs, 1 crore, 1 crore ka 1%, 1 lakh. How much time does it take to assess a water supply scheme? Maybe if you are well trained, 2 weeks. If you are not well trained, do 2 months. So that is good money, right. So in fact, once we started it, right, in Palghar and Thane, the IIT neighboring districts, we assessed 19 schemes and 31 schemes, and a total of about 34 crores, and there were major issues that we uncovered. In 7 of 19 in Palghar, and Thane was even worse. So we showed that at design time or just during implement, these are the issues which are likely to happen, correct. So the government is very happy because it has saved money. If you save one scheme from failing, it's 50 lakh rupees, correct. So very happy. So they paid us 34 lakhs, but we have given them much more than 34 lakhs, right. Some contractors have been pulled up, you replace the pipe, and so on, improving the life of scheme, better design, better reach to all the people, so that you don't have to walk those 500 meters which the census data is showing us, correct? So in fact, even better, what the government has done is just recently that it has, by UNICEF and us, we are training 15 colleges throughout Maharashtra to perform such assessments. So government has created the law and now it is training colleges to assess water supply schemes, and it has shown you the carrot of money. Is that clear? So this is exactly the loop that we want. And now what has happened is that Thane and Palghar have come to us for training. They said, "Arey Baba, stop failing our schemes. हमें train करो कि we will design better schemes." Correct? So this can happen. So I think that we are failing for very simple reasons, largely many simple reasons, and we have to just be engaged in a loop to improve those systems, right? So so really, I mean, so UMA was, as I said, so it's really, if you look at so mechanism to select, so it's a, what is UMA? It's opening up college, selection of good colleges, nurturing them, training them to work on such problems, and in a way for the community, it is the right to know. What is right to information? कि मेरा application का क्या हुआ, correct? But what is right to know? कि why is my water supply scheme failed? Correct? So right to know is a deeper understanding of where am I. So that is what it is really trying to do. So anyway, we are mentoring it, and its project areas are really everything. So if you look at, so there are many GRs, many. By the way, what is a GR? It's a government resolution, which is a government order. Correct? Government order. So many opening up collector funds, innovation funds, planning, maps, data, right? So if you want to work in a particular, say, Amravati city, you need data, correct? More than census data. So there are now these laws which enable you to get data. So these are all the areas. So for example, if you look, what those areas are: rural electricity stress measurement for a feeder. So some of you are electrical engineers here. Any electrical? Would this qualify for a BTP in your college? Many times no. They say, "Isme, what is engineering? This is public social service." So what we have wrongly classified as social service, other countries have called it engineering and have succeeded. They will say rural feeder, ये क्या चला रखा है rural? कुछ तो you learn Internet of Things, right? Or autonomous vehicles. So if you see in our campus, there are many autonomous vehicles. Cows देखें ना, right? They are also autonomous vehicles, right? We have cows and bulls, fully autonomous, right? So I think that what basically, but for the first time, that a government, state government has said that this is what we want as engineering. So AICT may say what is engineering, it has its rights, but we also call this engineering. Okay, so if you see what it says, you see, so for example, you go rural industries, standardization of process for specific industries, or assessment and improvement of distribution systems, and so on. Okay, so this has come out in a government order. So if you offer a BTP in some rural electricity or chulhas, right, and if in the examiner says, "Arey, but this is not mechanical engineering," well, he can point to this. Yeah, look, here it is. The government has, Higher and Technical Education Department has called chulhas as an engineering BTP. So are you going against the government? BTech project. BTP is BTech project or MTech project, MTech thesis, or whatever projects. Is that clear? So this opens the door for more such projects to happen. Okay, so I have already discussed this. So essentially what it's saying is that we need a different way of doing engineering. Okay, so by the way, so we have identified in Maharashtra about 30 institutions, right, all over. Some districts are missed, we are identifying more such institutions, but it is a network of colleges. So every district collector should have an institution who they can lean on or they can rely on to do some assessment, design, evaluation, problem analysis, failures, You know, every MLA, every member of parliament would say, "Arey, mere, you know, taluka mein, why is the bus system so poor? Now our kids can't go to school or college." Correct? So we should have a way for, you know, answering, for common people to answer such questions, and the university is the place. So the university or the college is the place where ordinary questions, material questions of common people get answered. Right? Material. We can't answer harder questions or different questions or identity, right? But we can definitely answer questions about material well-being. Right? So these are some of our students at work, right? So measuring, you know, manufacturing, you know, installing, so overseeing installations and so on, and students. And by the way, students are really happy to work on real problems. So you will discover that once you formulate a problem and take it out, students are quite happy to work because they know that they are talking to real, you know, they get to talk to the collector. Many think that a tehsildar is a very rough person with big moustaches. It's not. Like an ordinary person like you and me. The name tehsildar, you know, in sounds, my God, but actually, you know, so they have not seen a tehsil. They don't understand what is the role of tehsildar or the BDO or the collector. And the poor collector is sitting on 200 committees. Oh, bichara, you know, he's already, you know, he or she desperately needs help. Right? So these are some of the, so what we need to do is understand what an engineer should be. So now we come to, so what have I done now? I have created the mechanisms, openings and so on. Now I am coming down to actual curriculum, how to do it in the college. So after all this spreading around in outside the university, you have seen many things. Now we are coming into the college. How do we do it? So what we do is, you have to understand that an engineer is actually working in a loop. He or she has to be trained how to identify or understand a problem, break it up into its constituents, and, you know, maybe use some domain knowledge of yours or others and synthesize and deliver. Right? So public transport is also a civil engineering problem, also an IT problem, also, you know, mechanical engineering, sensor, and so on, economics. So, so what the University of Illinois engineer does, you should be able to do, that is understand the problem in its entirety, right? What are we doing? We are training our, we call it students, to be employees, right? Not analysts, engineering analysts. So what we are saying is, you should understand, train the student to understand the problem in its entirety. So by the way, in a subsequent lecture, Pooja will explain how we actually use very easily available data to analyze a particular problem, okay, namely a particular taluka and its agricultural system. Okay, so how is that to be done? Well, every department should pick one or two key areas. So say for example, CSE says public transport and ration, mechanical economics may say district economic plan, right, you know, and so on. Is that clear? So every department picks two areas in which it will work, applied areas, last mile areas. So keep offering BTPs in that, so you understand that area better, like we did for drinking water, like we are doing for chulas. So if we know all the chulas in one particular district, obviously in 5 years they will improve, correct? If you list all the chulas, these are the chulas, these are, you know, just by copying the best chula. So in fact, I ran an experiment in many villages. I go and say 100 rupees for the best chula in this village. Yeah, then people start looking, and the girls are most active because they are using the chula. So, sir, कैसे measure करने का? How water boiling test? ये क्या, you know, धुआं, you know, best मतलब क्या? What is the meaning of best? So you see, there are many. Even if you see, when I say analyze, what is best? Less smoke, less wood, faster. You ask a hotel wala, I will say chula should be fast. Correct? It's so many. There is no unique answer. Correct? So you have to, you know, start doing. Start doing. So what I am saying is, each department picks one or two areas. Just, you know, start doing case studies. So really, what I am saying is, more field work, more space for electives, more project based learning, interaction with regional agencies, collector, MLA, we are all afraid of politicians. Actually, they have to get elected 5 years. I don't. I have a pakka job, permanent job. And many of you have permanent jobs, no? Or no? Some of you have permanent jobs. So, I have a, right? So stop blaming politicians, or anyway, so start working with them. So I think that systematic interaction with people. So other thing to train for is how do you interact with people, right? How do you hold a village meeting? Yeah, how do you talk to a corporator? How do you talk to a collector? What sort of, invite them to your college, call the district collector, right? Ask them, him or her, to give a talk, what sort of problem do you see? Your students will understand, this is a collector, this is some other person, MLA bulao. So they will pose their problems, so you understand. And finally, case studies and planning. So these are two approaches to work. Okay, so I will talk about case studies, Pooja will talk about planning. So I think that there are many case studies, assessing, for example, for a sociologist. Any sociologist here? Sociology teacher? No. Well, anyway, just understand, assessing ration PDS coverage in a Gram Panchayat, evaluating Anganwadis, these are all social problems, good for sociology. So anyway, preparing ideal timetable for city public transport, good for IT, CS, right? Preparing a village sanitation plan, good for any engineering, perhaps civil, perhaps mechanical, it doesn't matter. So all these are very exciting. Doing case studies is very, we've done it and we do it, and students are motivated. So these are some of the case studies. Studying poultry farms, and actually rural electricity, understanding what the grid actually looks like, then measuring the grid quality, then water supply system, actually documenting them, simulating them, what is going wrong. Then planning for a solar Gram Panchayat, right? And then she will cover on actual taluka level planning, right? So finally, is there space in the University Act? Plenty of space. If you look at Maharashtra, all university acts are very similar. So look at this, to make prove in the university or college collection for survey and collection of statistics, evaluation of the development schemes, participate as a part of their curricular activities. It is in the University Act, right? So if you see regional, local, associating closely with local regional problem of development, it's all there, right? It's all there. We just need to, powers and board of studies auditor, identify one issue related to region, right? So these are all plenty of stuff for you to, do it. Okay, so I'll not go into, but there are many activities to do. So these are invest in teacher training. There are many, the obvious thing within the university, I think, which other sessions must have talked about. So this PPT is anyway on your Moodle, and it has many references at the end, so you can also see those papers and so on. So thank you. So any questions? Yeah.
What should we do if we are interested in working with such real-time research projects? How to approach and whom do we need to approach?
So as I said, I think that first, so what I've given you a long trajectory, but the first thing is to float problems in your vicinity, which are closest to your area department. Say if you are in chemical engineering, small fabric, the food industry, working with the local food industry, understanding their processes, documenting. Don't try to save the world in the first 4 or 5 years. Just document the world very well. So that is the method of science. So offer BTech projects and MTech projects so that you understand that system. Okay, so exactly what I said, pick 2 or 3 key areas and start, doing case studies. That's my first aim. And that is very easy to do.
And one common question, sir.
Yeah.
You IITians are very intelligent. Okay, we feel that you IITians are very intelligent. Okay, why can't you frame the same syllabus for the whole country? It is so biased. The curriculum is so biased.
German curricula are different in different states. Germany is size of Maharashtra.
Okay.
German curricula for North Germany and South Germany are different. You see, that is a confusion. See, quantum mechanics does not change. Agreed. But the needs of the people are different. Right, so the laws don't change, but the the devices change. Right? In fact, you see that over centralization of science and technology is the real problem. You see that DST has 3,000 crores to distribute, right? And what does state, our state S&T commission? 60 crores. Right? Where do the routes happen? In Delhi. They happen here, and they have very little money. And also what happens is DST will trust central institutions. Correct? Actually they should, it is like looking for a key where there is light. If you have lost a key, where should you look? Where the key has fallen, no? Where the problem is, not where there is light. Right? The problem is in the states, in the provinces, in the interior. So you have to get science out there, and the science which needs to go there has to be relevant there. So if you look at NCERT curriculum, NCERT, CBSE curriculum, there are 50 pages on structure of atom. And how many on water? Guess. Guess. 0. Water. 0 pages on water. 50 pages on structure of atom. And of which 20 are on structure of nucleus. So, what I am saying is drop the universal. And, at our level, we have to worry about very concrete things. Drinking water, chulas are different districts. And we have to study them using the same principles. Mass transfer, conservation of energy, conservation of mass, same things. But the quantities are different, no? It will be x1 plus x2 equal to x3 plus x4. There will be y1 plus y2 equal to y3 plus y4. X and y are going to be different.
Hello.
Yeah.
So if common syllabus is not for entire country, then why common examination is for entire country, sir?
So that you answer.
Sir, I supposed to ask you, sir.
No, so you can see I write frequently that it should not be done, but we are, why? So this is a more, higher education policy question. So if you look at the constitution, actually education sector is, how is it? Concurrent list. So the role of the central government is to maintain standards, okay, but not to prescribe syllabus, not to rank. In principle, you should have a say if you get more 60%, you are eligible, right? So these are only we have in the state level. We have to show that we can also do science, good science.
The curriculum, the difference is much between state board and CBSE, sir.
Correct.
So obviously state board students can't able to attend the questions.
Correct. So these are all. So I think we have to solve local problems and show that state boards can also solve problems. So you have to, the best antidote to centralization is to show that decentralized institutions can also do good science, solve accessible, reasonable, nearby problems, and show that you can also do, good science. Yeah, any question?
We are getting some ideas in the society.
Correct.
What they are need. Okay, in the water, all those things are social level only. We get the information.
Correct.
How we are means in the case studies, or we are in the floor. We are research something regarding that.
So how, I think what she will show in the next year, that the data is there. You go to any tehsil office, you will get all the data you want.
In government official, they have all those.
All the data.
Okay.
All the data you want. All this is, by the way, public data. Nothing secret. And at the Excel sheet level, I have it.
Yeah.
Okay, at tehsil level, I have the annual action plan. And they would be very happy to give you, provided you are constructive. Say, I want to help. Let's work together.
How we can approach them for creating this much of?
No, but at the local level, at the college level, you see, if you work in a constructive manner with the tehsil office, you will always get something. Because they are up to here with problems. They want people to constructively help them.
Where we are found that much of problems or projects on that?
Go out, you just go outside main gate.
Yeah.
Go to K ward office, they will say, hey Baba, come sit, give you a chair, pani lao, chai lao. They will say, okay, can you solve solid waste problem?
Yeah, sure.
I will say, oh, I will put a GPS and route nikalega. So good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to take the step, and you have to engage. That's it.
Yeah, sure.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, what happened in private engineering colleges, those are not looking for analyzing the problems. They all are looking for the admissions. They all
Yeah.
are running behind the admissions.
Yeah.
But my point is, we are just beginner.
We are just correct.
As, our career just started.
Correct.
And here, if we look for the intelligent persons like you, if you follow them,
My God.
then if we follow them, then only we can try to analyze the problems and we can solve. But in our private engineering college, what happens?
No, that is not. So, by the way, so if you go, I will show you. You know, my understanding is that so in those 30 colleges, 15 are private. Okay, private engineering college, many of the old 30-year-old private engineering college, they were set out there with a very different agenda. Okay, they wanted their farmer kids to learn. So they still have some social agenda. Okay, and they have connections with the district authorities and so on. So in fact, in many private, and they want a name for themselves. Now government like IIT doesn't care, or government engineering college Aurangabad doesn't care, because unka salary to aa raha hai, so everything is fine. While a private college actually wants, you know, so we have found that private colleges are more energetic in working on community problems.
Okay, we need to break here. So the message is that if every one of us can spend about half an hour a week to get started, just see the thing, go and get data. So if we say that we have to do some measurements, get acquisition, just go there, go to the Tahsil office. And so anyway, you would agree that it's a different type of talk, and it is extremely important. I'm happy that we are able to make this talk available through this program to all of you. So let's thank Professor Milind Sohoni.